So today I'm going to be talking about apartments and soulmates, if these two things are related in any way. And they are, that's what I'm going to be talking about. So once in every time the money in my bank account reaches a certain point, I start to panic. Like I need it invested in something or put in something, even though that happened only two times. The first time, it happened around 2019, where I bought real estate from my dad, and the second time is what happened recently, and I needed my money out of the currency of the fiat or whatever you want to call it, because that's the panic that I get into with the world events and everything, into something that's seemingly more substantial, that's going to last, a apartment. But either way, I was looking for the past 3 to 5 years for making that decision. Uh, what city, how much to put into it, and I figured that the city where I was born in is the ideal one. But yeah, out of all the internet looking for apartments, websites, all of that. When I got enough money to afford an apartment, I went into city squatting looking for real deals. And there were some regions in the city that I looked into. I I find phone numbers with selling cards, and then I picture them. I did 2 to 3 days like that. So this usually is the job that you would give a real estate agent or someone like that to give you the information about the city and to shortcut that process for you. But I did it on my own, and each time I called those numbers at night. I got a decent amount of contacts, and then I called them. So I filtered out a bunch of opportunities, a bunch of apartments simply because they were out of budget. But there's usually this thing in manifestation that goes like, allow yourself to have, because you never know how things will work out at the end. Either way, there was this deal with this person that I called, and he gave me a price that's a little bit above budget. So I ignored it. But I also told my dad about it later, and he said that it's a perfect deal when I told him the location. And so we went on and we met with the person. He had an accent, so he was from Iraq, which is Iraq. And him and my dad both clicked because they were from the same, they had the same profession. So they were talking and so on. And my dad told him that the first real estate he bought from someone is from a Iraqi person, that basically he did the same. And I'm sure that my dad first real estate was something that he bought from his dad himself too, and same repeats. So your first business deal should be considered the one that you made outside of family. I would think so. But either way, that was the first, we will call it synchronicity or confirmation, or wherever. So my brain does this thing, and I start amassing these confirmations. And I'm not gonna share them all with you. You got the idea. So, first one is that my dad bought from an Iraqi person, and then this person is an Iraqi. So, we're gonna consider this to be a synchronicity. Two, three, four, five, and out of a sudden you've got 100 synchronicities. But this guy is still out of budget, and if this doesn't work, what does this mean about all these confirmations? As you know, synchronicities are sometimes dealt with as, yeah, confirmations of destiny. And I can't explain exactly why, but there's a bunch of yapping on my channel as well as spiritual books and so on that talk about this stuff. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that does that. And a side thing to know, by the way, is that Iraq means something that's very ancient and very old, very antique. And it at the same times, when said in Arabic again, there's a fraction that means in the word irq, which means a vein. It also means something that's rooted. So you kind of see that the the duality between veins and roots, and yeah, as above so below, as you know. So as I said, I'm gonna spare you the entire synchronicities in my mind that were happening at the time, and some of them I've never spoken, so I don't know if they're real or not. I haven't vocalized them. But the seller of the apartment told me something, is that the choice of your first house apartment is more important than the choice of your wife. And that's very bold thing to say. So I'm like, oh, chill. Either way, the seller was a very legit person. He wasn't trying to push his apartment or sell it in a, like, there was a lot of good things about his apartment that he didn't even mention. It's as if it's not one of his priorities to sell it. And that's why allow yourself to have. So if I haven't talked with my dad about it, 100% I wouldn't have called the person again or met them to find out that the apartment is indeed negotiable and all of that. But either way, another synchronicity that I wanted to share is that the apartment he named after the Tower of Babylon. He himself is someone who is looking to these things. And if you don't know, I think the Tower of Babylon is the one it's depicted in Lord of the Rings, because I see a lot of AI videos, AI music videos where there's Lord of the Ring characters smoking weed and stuff like that, and they're like, uh, weed is wisdom, no Babylon. So Babylon is this tower that has fallen because of language, something related to that. And you know that language is related to the left hemisphere. The so there's a bunch of things to say about the left hemisphere, the left part of the brain, but it's not related to art and these music, this AI music say things like no Babylon, they don't want to deal with that, and they just want art. That's the idea. And yeah, so these aren't exactly synchronicities, but again, I spared you of all that cringe. Now, we fixed a price, me and the seller, and we stopped communication. So he said his price, and I said my price. Okay, so I don't wanna go back into changing my price, but at the same time, there's all these confirmations in my head, these synchronicities, and what does it mean that that it that I won't be buying from him? Simply means that there must be other realities where that's happening. And that's how you end up making sense of this, these confirmations that end up failing or not amounting to anything. But so, even though that was a deal that I wanted to consider, I was in a hesitation mode because I still haven't looked the entire city deals, and I was hit, well, I don't want to use the term scared, but definitely regarding repeating the process of looking again for an apartment and taking pictures. And I do that with a motorcycle and a helmet and doing the neck turning every time I see a phone number. That got a toll on my spine. But either way, the idea is that I didn't want to repeat that process. Maybe that's the reason why I have collected all those synchronicities, is that at the end of the day, I'm just scared to repeat, or I don't want to repeat that process again. I did repeat the process in another location of the city, and I found some extra alternatives that were great deals. By the way, in my table of choice at the end, none of the deals that were in the internet and that I spent a lot of time in the last years looking at. So I mainly looked at the internet deals of apartments, but looking in real life is very different than what's on the internet. So I'm not saying that the internet is was not useful at all. For instance, Google Map was very useful, but yeah, these deals, the the good ones, they don't even know how to use the internet or put their announces on there. And even if they do know, they just go and look in real life for apartments. That's what I'm saying. Look as well for the apartments in real life as well as on the internet. The great deals, they were all in some place that I suspected won't be a great deal. And a conversation sparked with someone working there that again, I wasn't gonna be talking to them or whatever. So they just see me uh, visiting apartments, walking by, and they suspect I'm someone that's interested. So they show me, and it ends up being a great deal that I need to balance out and weigh out against the other deals. And so at the end of it, I find that now I'm in a place where I know better the prices of the city, and that the first deal with the Iraqi person was indeed a great deal. Outside of all those synchronicities, just objectively looking at it, it's a great deal. And I wouldn't have known it unless I did the extra looking for places in locations in the city. And so I went in and renegotiated the price with the seller. And obviously, I'm not, this is just an example. Apartment, soulmates, whatever. These synchronicities, they show up. But at the end of the day, you need to also look at things objectively, right? So you're looking at synchronicities to confirm to you that this is the right decision, right? But at the same time, you need to be able to objectively test the value of the apartments, and that's the process that I told you I was hesitant to repeat. I don't know if you get the idea, but yeah, it's not that the synchronicities was in opposite of what the actual value of the apartment is, and that therefore I should go against the objective appreciation. It's that in this case, they are both saying that I should get the apartment, the confirmation, and the objective appreciation, but the objective appreciation only happened when I took the extra step of looking for other options. All right, and another thing is that the the usual thing that's related to this economy, which I myself did in the beginning of this video, but in spirituality and manifestation and all of that, it's beyond this economy. Again, I use this example a lot, but in reality transfer, he says something that's similar to there's a million way that your future house is going to be worse than your current one that you're trying to get out of. So there was some things that I did in the process of buying the new apartment. And no, you won't be extremely happy after you do that thing or you achieve that. So even though, as it seems, a faraway goal in the beginning, in the past years, once you have it, it's whatever. And so one of the things, obviously, as I said, is that I became, over the past months, more and more grateful to my current house, which I'm still living in with my parents. There on the internet, I must say it's less than before, but before there was a lot of pressure for people to, the message was usually for people to exit their parents' house in 18 years old. And that's the message that maybe I was biased. That's why the algorithm showed me that stuff. But yeah, you need to get into a energy where in no way you can be ungrateful towards your parents, whatever that is. Okay, and if you are frustrated in your current situation of a house that you're living in and you're in pain, let's say, regarding that, you can try to manifest out of pain and you can visualize some of the issues that you can have in that house that you're trying to move into. Uh, some of the issues that I would try to visualize if I knew they would be there, because I had no idea they would be there, but I'm sure they would have helped miraculously or in weird ways manifest that house for me. Is that maybe I should have thought of the need of having two Wi-Fi internets, one in here and one in the other, or electricity bills, paperwork. There's a lot of worries that you can have that are related to frustration. So you can manifest out of your frustration and think of these issues if you want. And yeah, even though the apartment was out of budget, as I said earlier, allow yourself to have. My brother came in and paid the rest of the tax money. So the taxation is about 10%, something like that, around that price. And he paid that as a gift, which I wasn't suspecting, or I wasn't calculating that. So the key takeaways of this video, it's not just about the economy. Again, there's thousands of ways things can go wrong beyond finances. Just the notary transaction, by the way, there was a lot of breaks and things that needed to be sorted out. So even if you had the money, you would still need to go through a lot of steps. And even if you got the apartment, this is where the woo-woo part gets in. That there could be a tornado that comes in and wipes the entire thing out. So yeah, the second takeaway is that there's only God. Okay, this is obviously an important thing also, is that there's nothing that's too specific, and that you might be just scared of repeating something. That's why you hide behind the specificity. I want that. And if I can't have that, then there's an issue. What about all these synchronicities? So yeah, uh, third takeaway is that if you can't make up your mind around all those deals, all these apartments, you can just do a conflict. That is not a position that I got into, but I definitely had a multi-table criteria where there's coefficients for a lot of criterias, and I end up with a number for every apartment. And this apartment was indeed in all those criteria is the one that I should have gone with. And by the way, if I hadn't said so, I bought from the Iraqi person. So yeah. And last thing is something that I also mentioned, a takeaway about the Babylon and weed music, the limitation of words, is that yeah, I speak about this stuff in language, but the reason why I said in the previous video that there's gonna be a stopping of me making videos after the two future ones is because of this thing, which is language. Uh, one of the best speakers on the internet that I'm sure a lot of people agree with is Alan Watts. There's also another one, and him and Alan Watts, when I listen to them, they share this zen, slow attitude, but they are definitely, you understand the way they speak, you get what they mean. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not just about words, right? So yeah, the next video is going to be about pain, and the one after it is going to be about I've seen them in my dream. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you on the next one.